Hi everyone, my name is Alicia and I'm here to give you a tutorial video about how to make Jun Kombucha. So a little disclaimer first, I am not a professional of making this fermented beverage at all by any means. I like to experiment with new things, and kombucha is one of those staples in my life that I really enjoy, and I decided to give it a go and prepare it for myself and the people around me who are interested in that as well. So this is the way that I make mine, and I thought it would be fun to share this with you. Jun Kombucha is very similar to your standard kombucha that you find at most grocery stores. If you're familiar with that, the main ingredients to regular kombucha would be sugar and black tea. So Jun Kombucha is traditionally made with honey and green tea. Now I like to make mine with white tea, and this is an option if you find yourself to be a little more sensitive to caffeine. White tea has less caffeine in it in general, and the honey is a great alternative if you don't feel comfortable drinking kombucha with regular table sugar. So some might argue that these two substances decrease during the fermentation process. However, it's just another alternative, and it's a way that I like to prepare this kombucha tea. So as far as the origin of where this fermented drink came from, there is record that shows that it was found with the monks in Tibet in northern China. And there's also a little bit of record saying that it could have possibly been from Russia. However, we don't really know exactly where it was originated. The only thing we know is that we found a record of it about 1,000 years ago. Most fermented beverages and foods have been around for a long time and are a part of a lot of people's diets. Another ingredient that you're going to need for Jun Kombucha is a SCOBY. And for those of you who don't know what a SCOBY is, basically the culture that the caffeine and the sugar co-create together. And SCOBY stands for the symbolic culture of bacteria and yeast. So when you merge these two substances, they create this wonderful fermented fizzy culture-y drink. And a lot of people anecdotally say that it's very good for their digestive system, their health, all kinds of stuff. You can look that up. I like to drink it because I feel like after a meal it's a really great probiotic, and I like something fizzy. And you know, I could drink fizzy water, but I just feel like kombucha kind of gives like that extra something that I'm looking for, and it's just enough. Just a few sips is enough for me to feel like I'm getting something out of it, and I don't have to like drink too much of it even. A lot of people would say that to make Jun Kombucha you need a pure Jun SCOBY, and I don't find that completely true. I've read resources that say you can actually convert your standard kombucha SCOBY over to the honey tea. It took me a few batches to feel like it was transitioned enough to my liking. So that's something you can experiment with. And throughout the video, I will give you more detail on the process and what I'm doing, how long to brew and to wait after the bottling and whatnot. So I'll leave a little more description there too. Stay tuned until the very end of the video, as I will try for you one of my batches that I made recently that has been bottled for the last couple of weeks. I really hope you enjoy this video. I hope you learned something new. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out and add this to your repertoire of your tips to go and start making Jun Kombucha. It really is an amazing fermented drink that I feel like has benefited my life, and it's very cost effective if you're making it at home. Okay, let's do this.
First step, we're going to boil water, and you can use tap water or filtered water, depends on how the quality is in your area. And we're making one batch today, so for this recipe it's going to be 1 gallon per 6 bags of tea. And I'm using a brand called the Republic of Tea, and this is also organic. Now before I show you what you need, definitely remember to wash and sterilize everything with hot soapy water, including your hands throughout this process, because you'll be touching the SCOBY from time to time if you choose, and you don't want to contaminate it. So we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and after that we're going to take the tea bags out. So we're going to let this steep, and I'll show you what you're going to need. So for this process you're going to need a few measuring tools. I've got a tablespoon and 3/4 of a cup to measure out the honey. You'll also need raw honey. I've got this brand here that's local. You'll want to have a funnel, a bowl to transfer the SCOBY in, a few containers to transfer the tea, a stirring spoon. You'll want to invest in some very high quality bottles. You'll need your SCOBY, a gallon jar, a tea towel, and a rubber band. So I'm going to be bottling my tea today, but if you don't have tea already brewing, then skip the bottling part and just reference the rest of the video when you're making your tea. Okay, so it's time to take the bags out of the water, and you're going to need something to do that with, so grab some tongs or a spoon. So I'm just going to throw my tea bags in the compost, since they are compostable. Some are not, so check on that. And then we're going to let our tea cool a little bit more before we add the honey. Okay, so this is the fun part. We are going to start bottling the tea. Now you're going to transfer the SCOBY out into the bowl, and I'm using my hands because they're clean. And who says you can't play with your food? I think the SCOBY likes it. I think it's good to interact with it, so that's what I'm choosing to do here. So sometimes during the process of brewing, another SCOBY grows off of the main one, so I'm reaching down with a spoon to grab it since it fell off. And then after you get everything out, you're going to want to mix everything at the bottom really well, as doing this gives you a really good chance of fermentation in the bottling process. You're also going to want to add about a cup of tea from that brew into with your SCOBY that's sitting there, and you're going to use this tea for the next brew that you will make as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the bottling process if you guys are at this stage. So each of these glass bottles are 16 ounces, and to these you're going to add about 1 tablespoon of honey, and then you're going to fill each of the bottles up until there's about an inch of room left at the top. So I'm going to fill about 6.5 of these bottles, as that is what 1 gallon of the tea usually gets me. So let's do this. Okay, so our tea and honey has been cooling down, and we're going to add some more water to that mix just so that the temperature is perfect for the SCOBY. It can't be too warm or too cold. It has to be just right. And we're going to add that to our jar here, and we're going to fill that jar until it hits the curvy part, because we want to leave room for our tea that we're going to pour in there from the last batch and the SCOBY. So I have a few SCOBYs that I have saved over time as they produce a lot during this process, and just in case I lose one or I want to give one to a friend. Transfer the SCOBY into the tea along with the saved tea from the last batch that was brewed, as that is also a part of the fermentation process. And whatever room is left in the jar, you're going to fill that with water until there's again a few more inches of room at the top. Now, if you find you have too many SCOBYs, then you can always throw them in your garden or in the compost. And then make sure you label and rinse your bottle after bottling and before you put them away to rest. I like to put my kombucha in this dark corner in the kitchen, and I'll wait about 10 to 12 days to start the bottling process again, and about 5 to 10 days before I put any bottles in the fridge before I drink them.
All right, so this is one of the last batches that I made. I bottled this about a couple weeks ago now, and I had to release some of the carbonation yesterday because it had been sitting for so long and building up over the last couple weeks that sometimes if you're not careful, then you can have an explosion. So, and I've had that happen before, so make sure you invest in the really good bottles. You can find them on Amazon, and I can link that below which ones that I used. Yeah, so this is my homemade unflavored kombucha, and yeah, let's give it a pop. As you can see, it's still pretty fizzy after I even released some carbonation yesterday. It'll stay fizzy to my liking till probably either by tomorrow or the next day. I'm gonna do a little pour and taste test. You can see it. So I had to get the good lighting back, but this is what the tea looks like in a glass, and it's got like this light ale kind of look, and it's just gorgeous. It smells like honey. It's got this tangy kind of after smell. Let's take a sip. I can taste the honey. It's got kind of like a citrus bite to it. Not too sour, not too sweet. It's just perfect. It's just great little summer drink after dinner beverage, and yeah, it's just gorgeous, guys. So I hope you get out there and start making kombucha. There's nothing like it. It's cost effective, and it's just the best when you start making it. I haven't gone back to buy a bottle from the grocery store since I started successfully making my Jun Kombucha. But you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Cheers.
So I just realized right here that I only have 2 hands. Let's try this again. Ew.